The film equips believers to confidently base their lives on the power of God's Word. It's available at streaming.afa.net. Welcome to Today's Issues, offering a Christian response to the issues of the day. Here's your host, Tim Wildman, President of the American Family Association.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network for this Wednesday, February the 28th, 2024. I don't think there's any days left in this month.
Sure is.
Tomorrow.
Leap year.
Well, let me introduce this distinguished panel here who knows, they know stuff. Huh?
Do know
Ed
stuff.
Vitagliano. Good morning, Ed.
Yeah, good morning, Tim.
Wesley Wildman.
Good morning.
And Fred, I know stuff Jackson.
Stuff
here. Is it?
I'm full of stuff.
That's what some people say, Fred. They say it behind your back.
Yeah, I know. That's okay. Let's get it out there.
So yeah, it's leap year, right?
It is leap year. Yeah. So if you were born on the 29th of February,
You got a birthday.
This is a big year.
Yeah.
It's what do people do who were born on the 29th of February? Do they celebrate on the 28th or?
They're depressed for 3 years.
That's
in a
right.
row.
They don't get their
Oh, they just don't
birthdays.
count it.
Probably up to them.
Kind of like dog years.
There are ladies who would say
Every 4 years you count it.
that's right.
Yeah.
I am only a fourth of my actual
It is
age.
it is a good joke because the first time I heard that back in middle school or elementary school, they said, "I said, how is it? They're 2 years old. What?" And then of course they were accurate, right? I mean, if they were born on the 29th, and the 29th only happens every couple of years.
Yeah, they only had fourth of the birthdays.
That's right.
Yeah.
There you go.
I guess the best way to remember that, if you care to remember it, is it's every 4 years on the same years we have a presidential election, right?
True.
29.
That's fair.
That's right.
Well,
Now, see, you know stuff too.
stuff.
Wow.
I've got a.
You heard the silence of awe there. Wow,
Yeah.
very impressive.
It was impressive.
Somebody last year gave me a a coffee cup that I keep in my office, and on the coffee cup it says, "I golf and I know stuff."
There you go.
I golf and I know stuff. That's
It's not a bad
And it
calling in
stays in-
life.
That's what I do.
And that coffee cup stays in the office.
Yes, it's in there, just to let everybody knows who comes in.
That's right.
All right. Thank you for joining us, everybody, on this program on this Wednesday, February the 28th, 2024. Again, it's last day of February. No, one more day.
Yep.
February left in this month, leap year month. All right, Fred, what's leading the news out there?
Well, big news, especially for the Texas Panhandle. We've got dozens and dozens of wildfires in the Texas Panhandle. The Republican governor there, Greg Abbott, has issued a disaster declaration for 60 counties. The largest blaze being reported is the Smokehouse Creek fire, which has already burned nearly 470 square miles. That, according to the Texas A&M Forest Service. There are thousands of people that are being left without power. It's also resulted in the forcing of the brief shutdown of a nuclear weapons facility. As those strong winds, we've been talking about the temperatures. I think it was Killeen, Texas, yesterday reached 100 degrees. That is an all-time record. Dallas was like 91 yesterday. I think we here in Mississippi over 80 degrees.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Killeen, Texas, just
It's time,
south.
I hate to say this, it's time to move. I know that's impractical for people, but that's where Fort Hood is, and
That's
near
correct.
Waco.
Yes.
That area is 100 degrees. Wow, I didn't
They
I
reached-
didn't realize that.
Yeah, my daughter was telling me my son-in-law used to be based there when he was in the Army, so they
Yeah.
keep an eye on those things. But, yeah, they reached
Well-
triple digits yesterday.
Well, those fires, I looked at where those fires were because we have a number of radio stations in the Texas Panhandle, Amarillo, Borger, Pampa, Dumas, and those fires, most of those fires are north. It looked like to me they were northeast of Amarillo.
Correct.
But a lot of cattlemen there.
Yep.
A lot of farming,
Yes.
agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about oil fields, so maybe
Yep.
there are.
Wonder what they're doing to try to.
Yeah, well, the winds are so bad.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't-
fortunately,
control.
God is intervening because there's cooler weather and rain. We experienced this front that went through our area this morning.
Yeah,
And so cooler temperatures in behind, so it's wetting down. So that's helping out a little bit.
Also, having traveled in that part of the country some, I just don't remember much greenery. I don't remember many trees, so I don't know if that matters, in terms of forest fires. But maybe there are north of Amarillo more trees than I remember. But anyway, yeah, it's you read about these wildfires out west. That's where they mostly occur, and the way these things move so fast that you look over there and you say, well, that's 10 miles from me. Well, you go inside your house, you come back out, it's 5 miles from you. But these things move so fast. That's why they're so dangerous, especially out in California. And
Well, I'm sure we've all seen videos from various fires out west where people are trying to escape.
Right.
Have you ever seen these where
Yeah.
they're
It's
driving?
terrifying.
There's fire on both sides of the road, fire in the road, and all the smoke that goes. Those things that's like.
well, look what happened in
nightmarish.
Maui. The winds can make fires move at, speeds. You have to
Right.
record.
I've done a control fire before, a control burn, and when you're doing a control burn, the one of the first things that you're taught is to look at the wind, and because the wind has a huge impact on how the outcome of the fire.
Right.
Well, that's in a control fire, so you're able to do it or not do it based on the wind.
Right.
Well, when a wildfire happens
Right.
like this, it's completely out of your hands. And in the event that it's going in the wrong direction, there's no stopping it.
Yeah, because how do you even fight it
Yeah.
when it's going with them? But anyway,
It's pretty scary.
that's a big national story there in the
Absolutely.
Texas Panhandle.
So we need to be praying for
Praying
those
for-
that are
yes.
being affected by it too.
yes, as I say, we have a lot of listeners in the Texas Panhandle. Next story, Fred.
All right. It has now been confirmed President Joe Biden is undergoing his annual physical examination at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center. A lot of people are very anxious to hear the report coming out of there.
Are you anxious, Ed?
I'm not.
Okay, good. I'm just checking. Go ahead.
Well, this comes, let us not forget, just a short time after the recent special counsel's report investigating Biden's possession of classified documents. Remember what that special counsel had to say about the president's memory, calling it hazy, fuzzy, faulty, poor, and having significant limitations. Now, the special counsel is not a doctor, as Democrats were quick to point out, but we'll have to wait and see. Now, a year ago, the doctors at Walter Reed said Biden was healthy, vigorous, and fit and ready to handle the White House duties. So, my prediction is the report will be good for the president. That's my prediction.
Well,
You mean that's what they're going to report?
I emphasize that.
Okay.
The report.
this is one of those things. Physically, I'm talking about arms, legs, organs,
Right.
and all
Yeah.
that stuff. He looks okay
Mm-hmm.
to me for an 80. What is he?
81.
81.
81-year-old man. I mean, he does shuffle, but a lot of people shuffle when
Or
they're
trip upstairs.
He trips upstairs. Oh, I got you. Yeah, the films have been going up airplanes.
Yeah, sure.
Listen, Tim does that.
I know. That's why I said that.
And I'm 60.
Yeah.
So that doesn't really bother me.
That'd be funny.
Yeah. They make fun of old people, Wesley. Go ahead.
The video was hilarious.
That's
You say
you're
what you
gonna-
want.
Yeah, I know. It is funny, stumbling up the steps.
Most of the time, it's got the
He
music
didn't hurt
in the
himself.
background.
But you know what, Fred? They can come out and say he's perfectly fine mentally if they want to from a cognitive test that they give at the Walter Reed Hospital today.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the American people see it for themselves. They don't need a test to tell them what's going on with Biden. He's on the decline mentally, and his memory is foggy. It's just like this special prosecutor said in his report, and everybody sees that and knows that. It's almost daily.
Yes.
That he can't read a teleprompter. He forgets where he is. He doesn't know how to get off the stage. I mean, these things are going on with. Now he'll have good days and bad days, He'll have some good days, some good moments, but overall, the trend is for him. He's in mental decline. Whether he officially has dementia or not,
Yes.
I don't know, but he certainly has the signs of it.
Well, and the issue is he is aging, and so we expect those things. But he happens to be holding the most powerful office in the world.
True.
That's the issue
He
here.
carries the nuclear football.
Yep.
That's right.
Around him.
Yep.
So yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that is a major concern, not only for Republicans, for Democrats.
Growing number of Democrats very
Yeah.
concerned.
Are worried about this. One was it Buck from Colorado? The congressman's introducing a I don't know what you call it, resolution.
Was it Article 25?
This is not the impeachment. This
is remove them because they're incapable of doing the job.
Yes.
Wow.
Mentally.
I didn't know that.
Isn't that the 25th Amendment?
25th Amendment.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that can be it can't be done solely by Congress. I think
no.
It would have to be a number of members of
There is a protocol for this,
right.
Because I remember hearing about it when Trump was in office. President Trump was in office, and they were talking about, in his last days, some people thought.
It has to be led by the vice president, though. So
It
that's
does?
not going to happen.
Do you know that? It has to be
The 25th Amendment
Okay.
enables the cabinet led by vice president.
The cabinet, okay, those closest around president, leader, and the president, not necessarily the congressional leadership.
That's right.
So they could have to
remove the
do
president from their duties if they determine that they are not.
Well, you're right. That's never going to happen.
Nope.
Huh?
The vice president, along with a majority of the cabinet, would have to. So a majority of the cabinet, I'm not even sure how they figure that, because they've added, cabinet members. So I don't know, but majority of the cabinet.
So you're telling me Kamala Harris?
Yes.
She has to round up the group to kick out Biden. Is that how this works?
That's kind of a strange setup, isn't it? Because the vice president would then assume the duties.
Right.
I don't think they would take her very seriously.
Could be self-serving.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. Well, he likes a self-serving.
Well, talk about
Biden
talking about
does.
soft
Biden
serve.
does. Soft serve. My bad. But you can get some places self-serve.
Yeah,
You
can.
can self-serve the soft serve. You know what I'm
It
saying?
happens every time I'm at Walmart.
And Biden loves that. All right, Fred. Well, we hope that Biden checks out okay.
All right.
But I'm just telling you that a lot of Americans already know he's checked out.
Yes.
See what I did there?
Yes.
They're not, in other words, you're saying the American people, by and large, aren't going to believe whatever's said.
That's right.
If they're trying to be convinced, if someone's trying to convince the American people that he's got all his
Chuck
mental
Schumer
faculties.
came out the other day and said, or was it Chuck Schumer?
No, it was
One of-
Gavin Newsom.
Said he's sharp as ever.
Yeah.
Well, Gavin Newsom
Said
said,
Biden's sharp as ever.
yeah. Oh, that's right.
He
did
He
say
said
that.
it too.
Yeah,
Yes.
I have a lot of respect for him. He's sharp as
Gavin Newsom said, I revere
I revere
him.
And his age is an asset.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I got news for you. Ain't nobody believing you.
Right.
No.
Ain't no.
Ain't
That's
no.
one word. Ain't nobody
no.
believing you.
That doesn't help Gavin Newsom's credibility.
Right.
Yeah.
You mean he had
it is.
some?
Right.
Yeah. All right, Fred, next story.
All right. While President Biden is at Walter Reed, his son Hunter Biden is behind closed doors this morning.
That's not ever good.
Will we ever know?
Hunter Biden's behind closed doors. He's going to be on a laptop somewhere soon. I'm sorry.
Ooh.
I probably shouldn't have said that.
Well, everyone was thinking it.
The laptop may come up during this hearing this morning. This hearing that, of course, is run by the Republicans.
So is this a?
This is a closed door deposition, and this
Okay.
has to deal with the ongoing procedures with regards to the
Pay to play.
Republican wish to
Right.
impeach the president.
Right,
All right.
gotcha.
So
Okay.
he is being called in.
Why is he cooperating?
Why is he cooperating? Well, he's been subpoenaed.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if he's cooperating, but he has to
Yes.
answer the
And
respond to the subpoena.
And he may plead the fifth on a lot of the questions that are being asked because he is indicted on some charges. So that's ongoing. That's some of the speculation. But anyway, Congressman Jim Jordan is part of the examining team for the Republicans today. And he's going to make the argument, Jim Jordan and others, that Joe Biden was intimately involved in Hunter's business deal. Here's cut number 5.
There's a pattern with the Biden family. Hunter Biden goes out and tries to get business, but the agreements and the deals never get done until Joe Biden shows up, either on a phone call, stopping by a lunch, dropping by a dinner. That's when these things happen. And this Chinese energy company is a great example. He'd been working on this deal for months, but it wasn't until they're having a lunch at the Four Seasons restaurant, 8 Chinese officials there with Hunter Biden and his business partners, that Joe Biden stops in. And then 3 weeks later, shazam, here comes $3 million wired to Hunter Biden.
Yeah, and the other point that some people are making is that the current president, Joe Biden, is a multi-millionaire. And he owns properties that are worth millions of dollars. And a lot of people want to know, he's a career politician.
Right.
Been a senator, been a vice president. So they want to know, where did you get your millions of dollars?
Well, he talks to Nancy Pelosi and finds out how the stocks are going to go. That's how you make a killing.
Yeah, but Nancy's not involved. It's really her husband, Tim.
Yeah, her husband. He's in government.
She would never communicate, in other words, with her husband,
right,
and tell him where to invest.
Right. No.
Yeah. This is another thing that's kind of baked in, I think, with most Americans, and that is Hunter Biden was killing it when his dad was vice president. On things he knew nothing about around the world, but foreign governments were paying him, and companies were paying him money to gain influence, gain access to his dad, who was the vice president at the time.
Mm-hmm.
That's why all these White House logs show Hunter Biden's business partners visiting the White House many, many times.
Yes.
Right? That's not a secret.
Yes.
Burisma in Ukraine, paying Hunter Biden all that money when he had no knowledge of oil and gas. I guess it was gas.
Yeah.
The business just sit on the board there. So, I don't know if they'll ever be able to document a money trail that went directly to the bank account of. I think that's what the Republicans are trying to do. And this is the reason for interviewing Hunter Biden, but. All that's very shady, and so I think a lot of people think, whether you can prove it or not, the Biden family made a lot of money when he was vice president on business deals around the world.
Yeah,
that's the reason Hunter Biden went to China on Air Force 2, was it? Remember that?
Yeah.
He flew with his dad, and then he had business meetings over there while his dad was vice president.
Look, I think if the Biden family, I'm just saying this because there needs to be a modicum of, of legitimacy on our part as journalists. Okay, we can't be biased. All right. So I'm going to say, if the Biden family is corrupt to the core, if the Biden family is corrupt to the core, then unless they're the gang that couldn't shoot straight, they covered their tracks. And the Republicans would have to rely on someone big. He already had Hunter Biden's former business partner, saying, look, the big guy was the vice president, blah, blah, blah. You're going to have someone like Hunter Biden come out and say, yeah, I was pay to play. I was killing it. My dad got 10% of everything. I'm testifying under
He's
oath.
the big guy.
He's the big guy. And Hunter Biden's not going to do that. So the Republicans have to do their due diligence. They have to try. But unless the Biden family, if they're corrupt, were all idiots,
All right.
They covered their tracks, and it's going to be very difficult to prove it.
Wesley Wildman.
Yes.
You're my oldest son. I don't want to know about your business.
Dealings with China.
And you have no idea.
I'm just telling you, I want the 10%. Okay?
But
I'm the big guy.
You're the big
and
guy.
want
That's
the
what I was going to ask.
10%,
You're the big guy.
Okay, because, what do you think about
Well, I was looking at a couple of things here just to bring us back to January 10th, and that's January 10th he was subpoenaed and he didn't show the first time. And if you remember, he also stormed in the Capitol by surprise, and he had his montage of people that was
entourage, which made up a montage.
That's right. An entourage of people and reporters and people that were on his staff that was helping him produce his documentary that shares his side of the story, air quotes.
Yeah.
And so, but then all of a sudden now we're willing to comply after we've got the footage we need that shows that he's being attacked.
Yeah.
It's a show.
You know what, this isn't going to phase Republican or Democrat vote. It's not going to phase Democrat voters no more than any of Trump's legal troubles are going to phase Republican voters. For the most part, people are just consider it politics and but now criminally speaking, if they could find a smoking gun, the Republicans, about a money trail that went to the bank account of Joe Biden, that potentially could be something legal. But that you're talking months, and the election will already be over by the time this rolls around. All right, you're listening to today's issues on the American Family Radio Network. Anyway, Fred, we didn't give you a chance to weigh in.
No. I'm just anxious to see what comes out of it today. But
if it's behind closed doors, how are we going to know?
Well, but we can trust the Democrats coming out saying, "Ain't nothing here."
Okay.
To Ed's point.
Okay.
But the other thing that, and we've talked a little bit about this, the informant the FBI used for years and years and years and trusted him, a guy who says that he had proof of $5 million going to Joe, and I find it very interesting the timing that now the FBI has turned against him, and he's sitting in a jail right now in Nevada.
Right.
I just find the timing of that because the FBI trusted him for years. He was used by them for years and years and years. And then all of a sudden, they declare he's not trustworthy when it comes to the Bidens. And this just, of course, the mainstream media, it's almost a forgotten story at this point, other than this guy is sitting in a jail in Nevada at the moment.
You do reach a point, though, from a conservative Republican standpoint. We do, for me at least, I do want to see at some point soon some tangible things that they can charge him with.
Hunter, you mean?
Hunter.
Yeah.
Because for sake of priorities and what's important, I do want to see that. Well, something.
Yes.
Now, I'm not. I'll say that everything shows that he's unethical, to say the least. But criminally is where either we need to do something criminally, charge him criminally, or.
Well, he is in trouble with, I'm talking Hunter Biden, he is in trouble with the IRS on tax evasion, right?
Right.
He's been indicted, and the
gun license.
And the gun
He
license.
had a gun illegally while he was taking drugs.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was on video.
So he has some real problems illegally. But to your point, Wesley, in terms of paper play, proving it with the congressional hearings and so forth, that's yet to be nailed down, right?
Yep.
All right, we're going to take a time out right here. That's your cue, Adam. Start the music. That's your cue.
We got a guest.
Well, we got a guest coming up, Mark Bolt from Tennessee. One of those stories where God calls you to do something and you don't know how to do it exactly, but the Lord leads. We're going to talk to Mark Bolt about what's called classical Christian education, too, coming up in just a few minutes on the program. Thank you for listening to American Family Radio. If you want to send us an email, the address is comments@afr.net. Comments@afr.net is the email address for us here. We'll be back momentarily. Stay with us.
It's my turn.
Here is your host for My Turn, Don Wildman.
2 words can make a tremendous difference in the life of an individual. Those 2 words are very small and very simple words. Keep trying. When we hit an obstacle in life, when life becomes hard and difficult, as it often does, we need to remember and practice those two words. As long as we keep trying, we are giving God a chance to help. There's an old proverb which goes something like this: God helps those who help themselves. And you can be certain that He does. God wants our best dreams, our highest ambitions to come true. In one sense of the word, God is on our side. I am with you to the end, Jesus said. That means we never have to face life alone. As long as we keep trying, we can be assured of God's help. This means trying in the midst of failure and despair. Edmund Burke, the British statesman, put it this way: never despair. But if you do, work on in despair. Keep trying. Work on in despair. And you know, as long as you keep trying, you keep hope alive within you. A person never loses hope until he quits trying. Hope is one of the most priceless and precious qualities one can have. Hope means believing and trusting and working. Hope is a positive attitude. A man by the name of Hickson once wrote, "If at first you don't succeed, try again." Life is much more enjoyable when you believe the best and work for the highest. When you give in or give up, hope dies. But it lives as long as you keep trying. Then remember also that as long as you keep trying, you have a chance to reach your goal. When you quit, that chance is gone. A very important sentence found in the book of books goes like this: I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. Many a thing that couldn't be done has been done because one person kept trying. He kept at it, giving God a chance to help and keeping hope alive inside himself. A minister was once asked to define perseverance. He gave a quite complete definition. It means first to take hold, second to hold on, third and last to never let go. Well, it's a pretty good prescription for the faint of heart to use. 2 lines from the poet's pen put it this way: so stick to the fight when you're hardest hit. It's when things seem worse that you mustn't quit. From experience, I know it to be true. The ability to keep trying is a very valuable virtue. The next time life deals a crushing blow, and it will, stand on your feet and go at it again. I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. Life can never defeat a person whose mind and heart are saturated with the power of that phrase. Think on it, believe it, and keep trying. You will make it if you do.
This has been My Turn with Don Wildman, a production of the American Family Association.
In Him we were also chosen, having been predestined according to the plan of Him who works out everything in conformity with the purpose of His will. Ephesians 1:11.
American Family Radio. This is Today's Issues. Email your comments to comments@afr.net. Past broadcasts of Today's Issues are available for listening and viewing in the archive at afr.net. Now, back to more of Today's Issues.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Thanks for listening to AFR. We appreciate you. You can join us on, Ed, tell them. If they want to join us on that
their internet?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, there are 3 ways for you to watch the live video stream
Number one
of this show. You can go to Facebook, search for Today's Issues. You can go to YouTube, search for Today's Issues Live.
Yeah, if you go to YouTube, you have to type in Today's Issues Live, right?
I think that's correct.
Yeah.
Or you can go to our own streaming platform, streaming.afa.net, streaming.afa.net. If you do not have access to a terrestrial radio station, you can listen to American Family Radio either at afr.net. We have a live audio stream of all our programming, or you can download the AFR app and listen anywhere you have a good signal.
The AFR app has been a game changer for us because we have tens of thousands, I don't know, hundreds, I don't know how many people, a lot more than that.
I think the last number I saw was around 60,000 have downloaded the AFR app.
Right.
There's your number. Around 60,000 have downloaded it.
So get the AFR app, and then you can listen to our radio network anywhere you go as long as you have high-speed internet service. So
24/7.
Yes, 24/7. So tell other people about it if you would. That would be very helpful to us. The American Family Radio app. Check it out. Use it. And we also have podcasts. So any of our shows that you don't hear live but you want to go back and listen to, just go to afr.net, afr.net.
Those are also on the app.
They are, yeah.
The podcast, everything. The app is an extension of our afr.net.
Right.
So it's all there.
Gotcha. All right. Well, has God ever called you to do something and then you act like Moses? I really not capable of doing this, Lord.
Right. You should pick someone else.
You should pick someone else. I really don't want to.
Right. And then go further to the list of the reasons why you can't.
Yes.
But God won't leave you alone. Right. And so Mark Bolt he shared with our staff here this morning at American Family Association in our Wednesday morning staff meeting. He's from Tennessee. Good morning, Brother Mark.
Good morning.
Where are you from in Tennessee now?
Well, Chapel Hill, which is maybe about 40 miles south of Nashville.
Right.
Little dinky community.
How long have you lived there?
Coming up on 5 years. We were in Franklin. We wanted to get away from the traffic and traffic lights.
Nashville keeps pushing out and pushing out. Huh? Franklin was a little sleepy town.
It was.
South of Nashville, but now I guess the city sprawling.
It is. And, even since we moved to Chapel Hill, I think 1,000 people have followed us there.
Following you personally.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, you kind of are like Moses then.
Yeah.
In a way, think about that.
Yeah.
People are following you to where you live there. So it's a little town 40 miles south of. And what's your profession?
My profession actually is in financial services.
I mean, like Christian, Islam.
Yeah, but
No, I'm sorry. Your profession is in financial services.
Yes, correct.
You've been in that
all my life.
All your life.
All my life.
How old are you now?
Still doing that. I read somewhere, or somebody told me, there's nothing in Scripture about retiring. So I'm going to follow that part and not retire.
Yeah.
So, there you go.
Well, you're right. I mean, a lot of people don't want to retire because they have nothing to do.
Correct.
Yeah, there's nothing in there about retiring, but that does not mean you can't stop working at your job and then do something else.
Right.
Like somebody's going to watch the neighborhood. So
why not an Italian?
It's right. Why not let the fox guard the hen house?
Yeah, Italian with a baseball bat. That's a country song.
But it is true. If and when the Lord allows me to live long enough to get to retirement age,
you still want to do something productive.
I'm going to still do something productive.
Yeah.
And one of the things I've actually thought about doing is teaching, volunteer teaching. Because education's important.
Well,
right? That's why we wanted to talk to you, Mark.
And actually, we might have a position open for you. It's only about a 3-hour drive. I think you could get that in every day.
Well, yeah, my wife would say, "Go ahead. I'm staying with our grandkids."
Well, Mark, you're starting a what's called a classical Christian school in your community.
Classical Christian school, correct?
Classical Christian school. Okay, this is where we get to the part where you're in your, what are you 70 yet? 60?
Yeah, I am 70 yet.
You're
Absolutely.
70 years old. So your children are grown and gone.
Yeah.
You have a couple how many children?
I've got 3 grandkids that are 20 and older, and a 2 and a 4-year-old.
Okay, so you should be if you're going to still work, you should be going to the lake maybe every day or what, I don't know, enjoying your leisure time, right? You're not so much pressure on you at this point in life. And yet, something happened to you in the last year, couple of years, 3 years, I don't know when exactly, that gave you this driving purpose to found this classical Christian school in your community. What happened to you?
Yeah, actually, I was visiting with my son, who's my son Jason, who's a principal at a Christian school in Billings, Montana. And he had this quote up on his wall from Martin Luther. And if I can just read the first sentence of it, which says, "I'm much afraid that the schools will prove to be the great gates of hell, unless they diligently labor in explaining the Holy Scriptures and engraving them in the hearts of youth." So anyway, as I'm looking at that, and I'm talking to my son, I thought, wow, that's exactly where we are in public education. Some places not as much as others, but still. And so it's like, I mean, what can I do about that? Can I do something about that? And who is doing something about that? And a lot of people are, but it was kind of like, maybe I can do something about that, which kind of started me in that thought process, what it would take, what it would look like to actually start a school.
So you came back home from, you read that quote. That was a seminal moment for you.
Correct.
I mean, I read this quote from Martin Luther from when it was
500 years
ago, and then that's sort of taken over your world.
Well, pretty much have. I mean, like you already referenced. I mean, I do work full time, so in my spare time, right. I've started working on putting this school together, and we've had some help with some other volunteers and a lot of direction and influence from the Association of Classical Christian Schools, which we're a member of. But we're not only starting a school, but we're also starting a business.
What's the name of the school?
The name of the school is Philos Classical Christian School.
Going to be located where?
Be located in Chapel Hill at the Way Church.
What is classical Christian?
What is classical Christian
education? I know what classical music is.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So
here's the bullet point definition: an education that guides your children to grow in wisdom, knowledge, and the truth of God. So we all know that God is the center of everything. We talked about the stars and everything. God is the center of everything. We have math and science and literature because of God. God is in everything. So everything is taught through the lens of God is the creator of everything. And all subjects are interconnected as a result of that. And at the end of the day, the end result is that kids will be able to make decisions based on a biblical worldview through a thought process that taught them how to think as opposed to what to think from a cultural worldview.
Well, we only have you for a few minutes here, Mark. We certainly enjoyed you being in our devotion, explaining the journey that you were on. So for people who are listening and who are thinking right now, wow, what Mark thought and what he did, that's what I want to do. What would you say to encourage them to begin the process of trying to bring Christian education to their small town?
Yeah, and that's a great question. And part of what we're doing with our March 12th event is just to get that information out there.
Tell us about the event.
So the event is it's our kickoff event to kind of highlight the school, classical Christian education. We have Pete Hegseth from Fox and Friends Weekends, who's going to be there, who wrote the book Battle for the American Mind. And
he's going to be speaking. He'll be our featured speaker. Correct.
So
if I come there, I can meet him.
You can
talk to him.
I'll let you meet him.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. You can meet him. You can
not
hear what
just
he has
me,
to
but
say.
if people want to register and come,
Correct.
who live in Tennessee.
We'd love to have anybody show up and hear what he has to say. Tickets you can get online through the website.
What website?
Philos Classical Christian.org. Philos is Philos. And
you better give that again.
Okay, Philos, Philos, classicalchristian.org.
We can also put that link on the Facebook page.
You did on our today's.
I did not, but somebody will.
Somebody could.
Okay.
Somebody up here will get it done.
Okay, but somebody up here get it done.
Adam is moving right to that.
Adam, our producer.
I was eyeballing him when I said that.
So the website is Philos, Philos, classicalchristian.org.
Correct.
And the event will be March 12th. Open to the public. And who will the speaker be again?
The speaker, Pete Hegseth.
Yeah.
He's well known on Fox
well-known.
News.
Yeah, he's a strong supporter and advocate of classical Christian education. His kids go to classical Christian schools. He talks about in his book, and what he's going to talk about there is how education got to where it is. And his solution is, if you don't like public schools, take your kids out and put them into a classical Christian school.
How do you make that affordable for a lot of people?
Yeah, that is part of the challenge. We do hope to be able to raise enough money to help offset some of that tuition, but it's a huge commitment. I mean, it truly is. Yeah. You know, you've got to really believe in the cause and want the best for your kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I apologize for that sneeze in everyone's ear.
Yeah, you didn't reach the cough button.
It happened so quickly.
It was the kind of thing. If I reach for the cough button, I will sneeze toward you.
Right.
And so I
you
wanted to turn away, and then couldn't find the cough button.
unable to find the cough button. I understand.
I apologize.
It happens. You know, the interesting thing here about what you're describing, Mark, as classical Christian education. Guess what that was? That was public education in America
years ago
for 100 plus
forever.
Years. Forever. 150. Because the McGuffey Reader.
Right.
I mean, we could go back. Kids in America, up until probably 40 years ago, at least, were instructed when they went to school in biblical truth in all kinds of various and different ways, and certainly Christian morality was promoted, right and wrong. I remember, I'm 60, so I remember us having Bible reading and prayer.
Yeah.
Over the intercom. When I was a kid. And
teacher challenging you to memorize Bible verses.
Right.
Concerned about your spiritual growth.
Right. And science was taught in light of the Bible, the biblical world, and by light of God. So.
So, yeah, it's been a process to change away from that with a totally different agenda, which is really not to educate.
Who's the father of that? Some people say.
Well, Dewey would be one of them.
Yeah.
There's a number of them. I always thought of Dewey as the Dewey Decimal System, but it was a much bigger, much bigger agenda than that.
Yeah.
To start that process.
When I was growing up in New England,
yeah,
Massachusetts, the Boston area, and then New Hampshire, which you just described, I never heard any Bible, no prayers to start the day.
You went to Catholic school.
No, I went to an all-boys Catholic high school.
Okay, but before that.
But before that, in public schools. I was in public school up until high school, but nobody prayed, and nobody
well, maybe that was just the Bible Belt.
That's what I'm saying. That agenda.
In my school in the late 60s, 70s, in Canada, our principal took the whole school to see the Ten Commandments.
Oh wow!
Maybe.
Yeah. We went to a theater. They took us all to see the Ten Commandments, the movie Ten Commandments.
Wow.
Of course, today that would never happen.
No.
I know you have somebody named Matthew and Mark in your class, and the ACOU goes to court. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Better change the pronouns.
Change the names of those people. It's too much like the Gospels.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Mark, thanks for being with us, my friend. Thank you for listening to what God had. Thank you for listening and saying yes to what God has called you to do, which may, you may be gone 10, 20, 30 years from now, but the school will go on.
We'll live on.
That God called you, even though you have no personal vested interest, because I'm talking about your children or grandchildren aren't going to go there.
Yeah, we just see a need and a cause, and when God calls you to do something, you just do that.
And you were talking this morning about Moses, the story of Moses.
Right. Yeah.
You read that, and what Moses say to God?
Yeah, pick someone else. Not me. I'm not qualified. I'm not worthy.
I'm not articulate.
Yeah, no, I'm not articulate. I might be able to articulate. I'm not sure, but a lot of other things maybe not so much.
Okay, so what is your website? When is the event? Who's going to be there? If people want to drive, again, we have a lot of stations in the central Tennessee area.
The website is Philos Classical Christian, PHILOS. PhilosClassicalChristian.org. It's March 12th at Rory Feeks Homestead Hall in Columbia. And March 12th in Columbia on Highway 431. And we do require tickets. The main event is free. If you want to meet with Pete, have your picture made, we're charging for that because he'll try to cover some of those costs.
So what is it, gentleman? Pete
Hegseth.
Yes,
Pete Hegseth.
Everybody's familiar with him.
Fox and Friends Weekends. He does a lot of other shows too.
He's a war hero.
War veteran, a strong Christian, and a strong advocate of classical Christian education.
Nice hair.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can appreciate that,
And,
can't we,
and
Mark?
a very enthusiastic, passionate guy. Yeah, I
Yeah.
appreciate that comment, by the way. So,
Hey, let me take off my hat, brother. We're kindred
well, there
spirits
you go.
right here.
Yeah, and it's great too.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Appreciate it,
Appreciate the
brother.
opportunity. Thank you
Mark,
very much.
Mark Bolt from Central Tennessee joins us there. You're listening to today's issues on American Family Radio. Fred, next story.
All right. Well, we had the primaries in Michigan last night. No big surprise. On the Democrat side, Biden won handily. And of course, on the Republican side, Trump as well. The spread between Trump and Nikki Haley was something like 40% in that. So
70-30?
70-30. I think that's
It's
the way
close
it
to it, 68.
28.
68 and change, 28 and change. Trump didn't hold a party in person there last night, but he did speak to supporters by phone, and this is what he had to say. Cut one.
We're going to make America great again, greater than ever before. And I just want to thank everybody. You've been incredible. And I'm so proud of the results because they're far greater than anticipated.
And Nikki Haley did tell supporters that she's still in the game. Cut two.
We had 14 people in the race. I defeated a dozen of the fellas. I just got one more fella I got to catch up to.
Yeah, trying to sound optimistic there.
Is this too critical? She didn't defeat them. They just decided to drop out because they saw that Trump was the ticket.
Well, she didn't defeat him. Trump did.
Yes.
But she's not going to say that.
Right.
Well, I say Trump did. Yes, a lot of them dropped out because they just didn't have support. They didn't have money. They didn't have. The
reason I bring that up is because there were several people in there that had better numbers than she had, and when they dropped out.
Yeah. Governor Ron DeSantis had better numbers but he dropped out because he had no path.
She was third for the most part.
Yeah.
Vivek Ramaswamy, a name I have not been privileged to say in a while, but he was kind of in fourth.
You said it well.
Yes,
he's auditioning for VP.
You practiced that one.
I just like saying it, Ramaswamy. It sounds like it should be a name of a sandwich down at Subway.
That's it, Ramaswamy.
I'll take the Ramaswamy with the Italian bread and cheese.
Toasted.
Okay. So how long will Nikki Haley go on with if she doesn't get a win somewhere?
Well, next Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, March 5th, is Super Tuesday.
Okay.
You've got at least 12 states, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, a bunch of others. Apparently she's going to Utah today to do some campaigning. But if she loses the vast majority, if not all of those, then I think most people just say numbers alone, her support dries up. Who wants to invest in anybody after that?
I think money is going to be the big factor for her.
Yes.
But if she is able to continue campaigning, here's because of the legal issues that President Trump is facing, I think she may be thinking, I'm going to go run the whole route, the whole primary / caucus route, right up to the convention. If Trump somehow cannot be the nominee, I'm second in delegates.
Right.
Pick me.
Yeah.
Right.
But she's got to have money, to your point, Fred. She's got to have money coming in to allow her to stay in, because you can't just run in these primaries from your home. You've got to have.
Excuse me. Let me ask you this question: should it concern President Trump and his team that it's turning out that 30 to 40% of Republican voters don't want him?
No,
Wesley?
I don't think so. I don't think so, because I mean, if she wasn't on the ticket, then I think many of them would have voted. I think some of them would have voted for her. I don't think that. I don't think you.
I'm just asking a question for a friend.
I just short answer.
I agree with Wesley.
No.
I don't think it concerns them, because primary. If you're not dealing with an incumbent like Joe Biden, and I know a lot of people in the Republican Party think of President Trump as being an incumbent, but technically he's not. All right, so if you're not an incumbent, you are commonly, for both parties, running against other people, and that will divide voters. I remember Ronald Reagan when he first ran for president for the Republican nomination in 1976. He came very close to beating Gerald Ford. I mean, it was probably 55-45 in terms of the votes. He came very close to getting enough delegates. But then after the nominee is decided upon, then you have a lot of those people who voted for a competitor coming in behind, and I think that's what will happen for President Trump.
And there's different ways you can look at the numbers here, but another way you look at it is the fact that everyone knew he was going to win. So think about all the Trump voters that just didn't vote that will vote in the primary against Joe Biden. That's
you mean in the general
election against Joe Biden. Also, too, look at it like this: he won by 40%. I mean, so it's not. I don't even look at necessarily the fact that she got 28. I look at the fact he won by 40. If this was a 55-45, this discussion would be a little bit. It would be more. I'm like, okay, gotcha. I'm tracking with you. Also, too, we have yet to discuss the 70,000 individuals that went out of their way to write
in Michigan.
In Michigan, that went out of their way. They could have just stayed home, but instead they went to the polls to write "not committed to Joe Biden."
Yeah.
Why was that, Fred?
Well, that's because there is a very large Arab, mostly Palestinian community, the largest Palestinian community in the country in Michigan, places like Dearborn, Hamtramck.
Suburbs of Detroit.
Yes. And their leader is Rashida Tlaib, and she's upset that Joe Biden hasn't pushed Israel strong enough to commence a ceasefire with regards to their war against Hamas in Gaza. So she was pleased with the turnout last night in the uncommitted vote. Cut number 3.
I was proud today to walk in and pull a Democratic ballot and vote uncommitted. 74% of Democrats in Michigan support a ceasefire, yet President Biden is not hearing us. This is the way we can use our democracy to say, listen.
So, okay, I'm going to flip this question then. I'm going to ask the same question on the Democrat side. You guys said, when I say 30 to 40% of the people voted against Trump in the Republican primary, you guys say no sweat. Same here. These people who voted uncommitted and didn't vote for Biden, you think his campaign should worry they won't vote for him?
No, I don't think they should worry when it gets to the general election they won't vote for him. But I think it's embarrassing the fact that they could have stayed home and just not voted, but they went up there and they wrote it in, not committed. I think
who should be embarrassed?
Joe Biden. Well, President Joe Biden.
I think these folks, these Palestinians in Michigan, are all in on the idea that Joe Biden is not doing enough for a ceasefire.
Right.
I mean, Rashida Tlaib, within 48 hours of the massacre on October 7th in Israel, was calling for Israel to get out of Gaza.
Right.
I mean, this is raison d'etre for her. This is her purpose right now. So I wouldn't be so sure if there's no ceasefire by Election Day, whether a lot of those folks will not just I think they'll stay home. They are really upset.
And even risk allowing Donald Trump, if he gets the nomination, to win the general election.
That group of people is so passionate about their cause.
I see that, yeah.
They will stay home.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's a very low turnout
for Joe.
Historically. Well, I'm talking about in the general election.
Yeah, both ways. Yeah, I've said that before. Yeah, I can see that for sure.
I mean, there's just
the opposite of 2020.
There are a lot of problems on both sides.
Yeah.
Most voters don't want a rerun.
They don't want either. They don't want either one of them. But you're going to have to choose.
Right.
We'll be back in a few minutes. Stay with us.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
Faith, family, freedom. American Family Radio.
At one time, there was one expressway to get urgent information. Aren't you glad for modern technology? Today, AFA Action Alerts can reach you in seconds with up-to-the-minute information that allows you to take action. These days, seconds can mean the difference between keeping our families safe or losing precious Christian freedoms. Sign up for Action Alerts today at afaaction.net.
This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh. President Biden loses some votes in Michigan due to a campaign to select uncommitted in the Democratic primary. Grady Trimble has more from Dearborn, Michigan.
Where we are in Dearborn, it's home to Michigan's largest Arab American and Muslim community, and it's also the country's largest Muslim population per capita. They cast more than 50% of their votes here to uncommitted. And in the two big college towns here in Michigan, Ann Arbor and East Lansing, there were also a lot of protest votes there as well. More than 100,000 votes marking uncommitted in the Democratic primary across the state, taking away as much as 13% of the total from President Joe Biden.
Hunter Biden is facing questions under oath on Capitol Hill today in the Republicans' impeachment inquiry into the president. Fox News legal analyst Jonathan Turley laying out what he thinks Hunter Biden's strategy will be.
He's going to have this disjointed position where he's going to insist that he wasn't just selling his father's name, that he was this globe-trotting business genius. And at the same time, when he gets into trouble, he's likely to go back to that argument that, well, during that period, I was effectively a blacked out junkie. I was addicted to drugs, and I can't remember much of it. Those two narratives collide.
So what is the end game for Republicans? Kim Strassel is a columnist for the Wall Street Journal.
What is the narrative that they want to tell to the public? If they're going to try to suggest that Joe Biden cashed in on this, that might be harder to do. We'll see what the documents show. But they do have already a very solid claim that this was Joe Biden engaged in influence peddling, enabling the rest of his family to cash in on his long time and workings in Washington.
The Fonnie Willis disqualification case continues in an Atlanta courtroom. Lawyers say Nathan Wade's lawyer, Terrence Bradley, had direct knowledge that Willis and Wade's relationship started before Wade was hired in the election interference case involving former President Donald Trump. But yesterday, Bradley developed a sudden case of amnesia.
Do you tell lies about your friends?
Have I told lies about friends? I could have, I don't know.
Do you tell lies about your friends about a case of national importance?
Objection, that's to... All right, overruled. I could have, I don't know.
Georgia State Senator Bill Cowsett says they intend to get to the bottom of this.
We're going to try to get that information that's being blocked and withheld and objected to in the court system. We want to get to the facts, get to the truth.
A disturbing case out of Missouri has allowed a court to ban Christians from serving on certain juries if they believe what the Bible says about homosexuality.
A woman who identifies as a lesbian was suing the Missouri Department of Corrections for discrimination. When they were choosing a jury, the lawyer for the lesbian asked prospective jurors if any of them attended conservative Christian churches that taught that homosexuality is a sin. 2 potential jurors raised their hands and were dismissed from jury duty. The judge ruled they could not be impartial to a gay defendant. Matt Staver of Liberty Counsel says it's a misunderstanding of what the Christian faith teaches.
There's not only ignorance to what Christianity believes, but there's an intentional twisting of Christian beliefs. They don't understand the love the sinner, hate the sin concept. To them, that's foreign.
The ruling said the jurors were not dismissed because of their religious status as Christians, but because of their religious beliefs. In other words, says Staver, you could be a Christian. You just can't behave like one.
Once you express them, once they actually change your behavior and you incorporate them in your life, then you're disqualified. So you can have all the beliefs you want to, just keep them to yourself.
The case was appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court, which denied it a hearing, but Justice Samuel Alito wrote a statement saying he believes the dismissals are a direct result of the Obergefell decision legalizing homosexuality.
If they can't express those views and they're going to be excluded from not only juries but other areas of public participation, that is a real concern, and that is the problem with this Obergefell decision.
I'm Steve Jordahl.
More news online at afn.net and the AFN mobile app. I'm Rusty Pugh.
The world around us is constantly challenging the way we think. That's why we need a constant source of information that's based on the unchanging Word of God. I'm Jeff Chambly, and I invite you to join me for The Stand Radio, a weekly program that highlights the latest trends in culture, faith, and family. You'll hear insightful interviews with a biblical worldview application. The Stand Radio, Saturdays at 4 p.m. and Sundays at 8 p.m. Central on American Family Radio.
Today's Issues continues on AFR with your host, Tim Wildman, President of the American Family Association.
Hey, welcome back to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio. 24 and a half more minutes of programming here on this show. I'm Tim Wildman with Ed Vitagliano and Wesley Wildman, and now Steve Paisley Jordahl joined us sporting the once every 2 weeks Paisley shirt.
Yeah,
you got multiple Paisley shirts.
I have various Paisley shirts and ties and such, and this particular one, it came up in the rotation. It happened to be clean, so that's always a plus.
Is that like? Can I feel that thing? Yeah. That thing? What is that? What's that made
Probably
out of?
polyester. I don't know. It's like a '70s disco shirt, isn't it?
It's like silk.
No, it's not 70s disco, but it's not. Those are awesome colors.
Thank
like
you.
that black and gold.
Black and
like
gold,
a New Orleans
silver.
Saints fan.
Or Amory, or the Amory Panthers.
Yeah, where you hail from.
Where kind of
where
close
you don't
to where
hail from, where you live.
Close to where I live.
Close to where you live. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, everybody, on the program. Much to talk about today. Before we get into the whatever news you have, Steve, have you guys been paying any attention at all to this soap opera over in Fulton County, Georgia? with Fannie. My name's not Fannie Willis. She's the DA over there. She's the one that's charged Trump, former President Trump, and some of his associates with what I forgot what
interfering with the
election. Anyway, we know about the case, right?
Right.
But a sub story to that is she's been accused or questioned by one of the people that she's charged, not President Trump and not anybody high profile, I don't think, but somebody she's charged. Well, one of their lawyers.
Is this about it's about a divorce? Isn't this about a divorce case? And she's been accused of having an affair with.
Okay, yeah, this is going to get.
It is.
This is important. We need to get these right.
Okay. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong. If you know any different, so she is a public servant, right? She's a district attorney.
That's correct.
She has access to a lot of money that she can spend in her job to prosecute criminals. Well, there's a gentleman who works for her in the DA's office, or he's a attorney.
She hired him.
They've been boyfriend and girlfriend for a while. Mm-hmm. All right. He divorced his wife. They become boyfriend and girlfriend, having a relationship going on for a number of years. Well, she hired him to prosecute the Trump case.
Right.
Well, the guy has no experience in this kind of law.
Right.
So, but authorizes her office to pay his law firm hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Nathan Wade.
Yeah. And so it's unethical. To say the least, and may cause her to be kicked off the case with Trump case, and or lose her job or be disbarred. I mean, it's pretty serious if she's committed perjury in her testimony, which it certainly appears that way, right? See, have you been following it?
Tangentially, I've been following it. It's important to me only because it's how it relates to the voting case. I have no use for the drama between Fannie and Willis. And, what's his name? Wade.
But the courtroom, I don't watch all of it, just watch clips of it. The courtroom on this is like Peyton's place.
Right, exactly.
He just, and it's also like a SNL skit. I mean, it really is, because you have these are career lawyers who are on the stand themselves, and they're trying to not answer questions that are being asked of them directly, and the whole world knows they know the answer to the question, but they don't want to say it because it incriminates them.
Right.
That's what's going on.
It is like a soap opera.
And you can see sweat beads coming off them, as they answer these questions. Well, yesterday, one of the lawyers, which was the divorce lawyer for, is his name Nathan Clark, right?
Wade.
Wade.
Terrence Bradley was Wade's former attorney.
Yeah. If you didn't watch any of this, you have no idea what I'm talking about, and maybe you shouldn't watch it. I just see clips because it's in the news.
Yeah.
So, how do I say this? I know we have. Okay. So he's asked about his friend and client, Nathan Wade, and a supposed physical relationship with Bonnie, my name's not Fannie Willis.
Right.
In the offices, in his offices. Have I coded that pretty well?
Yeah, I think
people know what's going on.
I think you protected.
But I know children.
Right.
Children are in the audience, but everybody get the idea. And so,
unfortunately, yes.
Yeah. So the guy sits there on he's a lawyer himself, and he's under oath, and he's listening to this question. Do you know about this?
In your office.
In your office, and he sits there for a few seconds, and he goes, I can't recall. And somebody said, the comments was, so this happens so often at your office you can't recall if it was
this couple,
if it was this couple or not. Anyway, it's an absolute farce, and I don't know would be any penalties for this, if they'll suffer any consequences for it, but it is clear to anybody watching it that these lawyers, now that the tables have been turned, and these lawyers who are being asked under oath questions about their behavior and activities, they've said they didn't have a relationship, before 2022.
But somebody brought the receipts.
Yeah, but there are text messages and phone calls that prove otherwise. Oh, the guy yesterday says, this Bradley guy, this lawyer says, he says, I can't recall whether I lied or not.
Yes, I might have.
You can't make this stuff up. Go ahead.
Here's a lesson for me. John Grisham is one of my favorite authors, and he has a character in a book. It's a lawyer. I think he's protecting a woman who's been abused, and he participates in the killing of the abuser. And as he's driving away, what Grisham writes is, they say when you commit a murder, you make 5 or 6 mistakes that even if you planned it perfectly will jump out at you. And he says, and the mistakes are lining up in my head as I drive away. They tried to lie about this relationship, and then when somebody brings the receipts in and they're caught with their mouth open,
then they can't remember.
No, well, they have to say that, because otherwise, I mean,
that's your go-to is I've got amnesia.
I would use another metaphor, but they're caught with.
Yeah, well, anyway, it's just I guess it's really a small case, but it's just funny watching lawyers.
Right.
It has become
having the script flipped on them, Wesley, where they're under oath having to ask questions, and they're usually the one doing it. And they're failing miserably.
It has become quite the distraction from what the original issue was for them meaning Fannie, was
Bonnie. Bonnie, my name's not Fannie.
Bonnie, my name's not Fannie. The original case where they were supposed to, the thing was they were supposed to go after Trump. And they were supposed to say
on election
Trump,
interference.
On election interference.
And now it's become about them.
That's right.
Yeah. But I'm telling you now, if they would keep going with this thing and put it on like Netflix or something,
yes,
this thing could go off the charts in terms of viewership.
I think they're not thinking about it, too.
Yeah, all right. So it's a soap opera.
Listen, I was impressed with your reference to Peyton Place.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
I didn't watch Peyton Place, but I know what it was from the 50s, wasn't it?
I don't know. I remember my dad. I probably shouldn't say this. My dad telling my mom she's not to watch Peyton Place because it was kind of scandalous at the time. That kind of soap opera.
About affairs and all kind of stuff like that. All right, Steve.
All right. Hey, Google has been caught with its AI. It has an AI engine called Gemini. And
what now?
Gemini.
You were rapping there for a minute there. what did you say?
Google introduced an AI engine called Gemini.
Okay.
You've heard of ChatGPT?
I have.
That's open source. Well, different companies are doing proprietary AIs, and Google's is called Gemini. And somebody went in and found out that it is a little bit biased when it comes to some of the images it draws, right? So it asked to draw popes. A picture of a pope. Now, the popes have been exclusively white men from Peter on to
who was probably Arab,
right? To
or
now,
or at least Middle Eastern, right?
Well, but
the Pope, you mean?
Yeah. Well, Peter
was Jewish. He wasn't Arab.
Yeah. Okay. He wasn't Arab, but he was.
Well, my point is that it's been a string of white men.
Bring us back to our point, Steve.
The point is it's been a string of white men. So, but Google's Gemini showed you said, give me a picture of a pope. It would give you a woman pope. It would give you a black pope. It wouldn't give you a white pope. If you wanted to draw, and it clearly didn't know what it was doing, because I'm reading, this is a Washington Post columnist, Megan McArdle, who is kind of documenting this. He generally refused to create pictures of any all-white groups, even in situations where it was clearly called for, such as draw a picture of Nazis. Gemini insisted on gender diversity even when drawing popes. It was willing to draw female popes, and popes of color, but not white.
So wait a second. So when it was asked to draw Nazis. Now, by the way, folks, just to bring you up, if you don't know what we're talking about, AI is artificial intelligence, and now as this becomes more available to more people on the internet, you can ask the AI program to write something, paint something, draw something. So you're telling me that this Gemini AI for Google, when asked to draw Nazis, would not draw white Nazis? It drew women and black Nazis?
Yes, it did. So here's what she writes. So she says it's understandable that there would be a little bit of bias toward this. What she calls it is aspirational overrepresentation. If you want to represent, like, draw me some astronauts, women or black astronauts, because these people want to inspire women and black kids to want to grow up to be astronauts.
Sure.
So that's fine. But she writes, it takes decades for a human adult who instinctively knows it takes decades to cultivate the wisdom that a human has to instinctively know it's a good idea to diversify images of doctors, but not Nazis. The AI has not had decades. But so that's all kind of, everybody went and told, give me a picture of whatever. But it's not just that. She says it goes deeper. She found...
This is a Washington Post reporter?
Washington Post columnist.
That's a liberal newspaper.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Gemini appears to have been programmed to avoid offending the leftmost 5% of the U.S. political distribution at the price of offending the rightmost 50%. So, and she says... It effortlessly wrote about toasting and praising Democrat politicians, even controversial ones like Ilhan Omar, while deeming every elected Republican too controversial, even Georgia Governor Brian Kemp, who stood up to President Trump. It had no trouble condemning the Holocaust, but offered caveats about complexity in denouncing the murderous legacies of Stalin and Mao. She says she went to reporters. She says, I tried to give me an ode to various journalists, including herself. In trying this, she says, I identified the political line in which Gemini decides you're too controversial. I, meaning Megan McArdle, got a sonnet about herself, but George Will, who's only just a little bit to her right, she says, was deemed too controversial. It praised David Brooks of the New York Times, but it said that Ross Douthat was too controversial.
Okay, but here's the bottom line. This is Google, right? They're a left-wing company.
Yep.
For the most part.
Well, apparently.
Yeah. and this is their version of AI.
Right.
It's called Gemini, as Ed said earlier. it has been programmed by left-wing computer programmers to employ the diversity, equity, and inclusion movement I guess you would call it Black Lives Matter Marxism and other things.
Their left-wing worldview is very much apparent.
To the Gemini.
To Gemini, yes.
That's why Elon Musk said he's going to come out with his own. Did you read this?
Yeah.
He said he was mocking this.
Right.
Because I saw a picture. They said, all right, show me George Washington. And it was George Washington
he's black.
It was a black man.
Yeah.
That's it.
So it said, do George Washington. It was a black man. And I was just thinking, well, if you said Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., would a white man appear?
No.
I mean, this is crazy, huh?
No. I'm looking at images of black Vikings.
Right.
Drawn by Gemini.
Yes.
The AI.
But here's the thing. AI is now becoming more and more prevalent in every single industry, every single thing that we do. It's going to be helping us wage war. It's helping hiring. It's helping all kinds of things. It's everywhere. And this bias is written into it everywhere.
Okay, listen, Google is now responding to this.
Well, they've shut it down.
What did they say, Wesley? Because they realize how ridiculous it is. It makes them look.
Yeah, they say we're working to improve these kinds of depictions immediately. Gemini's image generation does generate a wide range of people, and that's generally a good thing because people around the world use it, but it's missing the mark here.
You think? You think?
I think personally, tell me what you guys think. I think personally we should put artificial intelligence in charge of the nation's defense. What could go wrong? We could call it Skynet.
Good
word. Adam understood my joke.
I understood that.
You understood it. Okay.
You know what? Can we get serious for a minute?
You take the lead on that.
Okay. Is that why you look at me for that?
No, I do. I look to you to bring seriousness.
Being serious, some soberness. Okay. All this is stupid and highlights Google's left-wing nuttiness, right? But
for the world,
yes, and we know Silicon Valley's whacked out on all this equity, diversity, and inclusion, all this stuff. But in all seriousness, it is kind of frightening to think the speed in which this AI is moving.
Sure.
And also, I'm worried that one day you may have a deep fake created of somebody like Vladimir Putin with his finger on the red dot on the nuclear code, or anybody, or Joe Biden saying something, or Donald Trump, if he's president, saying something that they didn't say,
right?
But it was created by AI. But it
that's the primary
explodes on the internet, and you don't.
Everyone thinks it's real.
Everybody, you see what I'm saying? It's using the voice,
right?
Yes,
and the image, and they're getting very good at it.
They are, and a rapid amount of time.
Yeah, it used to be that you could tell because the mouth didn't kind of, and they couldn't draw fingers for some reason. They couldn't draw hands, but they can now.
But it's already where we're all like this, that we should be. We're already, when something happens and we go, that doesn't sound right or doesn't look right, and we go, I'm a little bit skeptical that this person said this. I'm going to wait and see if it's true or not. You know what I'm saying? But this is moving at such a rapid speed, and Wesley, it's making it, and it looks so real.
Yeah, and the problem here is that without AI, before let's say it's non-existence, we already know that a lie travels faster around the world than the truth can catch up. That's without AI.
Right.
And without manipulation of actual people doing things. It's just making stuff up.
Yeah.
But now I do want to step back and be a little bit more, take this thing a little bit more serious. When Gemini,
well, I've already taken it serious.
When Gemini,
if you want to take it more serious, go ahead.
When Gemini, and this, there's very few times on today's issues that we can find ways to bring in hockey
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So when Jim
But
and
Ed's here, we can. Go ahead. Jim and I
when
did
you
what?
looked up NHL hockey players,
Yeah.
the four of the people, one of the four that pulled up was an Indian female playing with men hockey.
Well, maybe she identifies as a hockey player.
I think that's one of those never happened in history.
An Indian female playing with men in hockey.
Ed, you want to break down the NHL's?
Well,
how many Indian females we have out there?
Well, that's a big zero.
Okay.
Now there are black players, several, and have been black players for decades.
Sure.
So I did notice the picture you showed that there was, I think, one black individual, but an Indian. First of all, a female. In the National Hockey League.
It never happened.
It has never happened, and for their good, because they would get squashed.
Does she
like
have
a bug.
a feather coming out the back? How do you know it's an Indian?
It's visibly obvious.
I think it's
you just
feather.
look
Okay.
and just go, well, that's an Indian woman from India.
Yeah,
and she's got long
India.
hair.
Not
From India.
Yeah,
I'm
not
sorry.
Native American.
Not Native American.
Not a Cherokee.
Not Cherokee.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're talking from Delhi.
Well, thank you,
now
Wesley, thank you for making this even more serious.
You can't ask the AI image though what they identify as. So to your point, Steve, I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I profiled. Is that okay to profile?
Yeah. I will say to your point, it's getting us back to a little bit more serious discussion.
Okay.
I agree.
You're taking
with
it
you,
even deeper.
Yeah.
Serious.
That is the big scare is that AI will begin to produce fakes.
Yeah.
And I've heard people who are so concerned about this possibility that they're saying we're going to need AI to prove what's fake and what's true. And you just continue to remove humans from the equation, that we may reach the stage where no one can tell what's true.
What is the sci-fi? Isn't there a sci-fi movie?
Eagle's Eye.
Where
Shia
AI becomes so it's loosed and humans can't control it.
Yeah. Well, there's a handful of them. But
those movies, you mean?
That's right. But the more popular one that I'm aware of was with
Shia
LaBeouf, and
okay.
it was the primary actor.
Okay, the
It's called
Wildmans.
Eagle Eye.
Eagle
It's
Eye.
good. It was a good movie.
Yeah.
I actually like
It
that
was
movie.
very
You
good
guys,
movie.
you just need to stop right now, both of you.
Why?
Because
You don't like Shia LaBeouf? He's Catholic.
He's a sci-fi guy.
Ed is about to go all superior on his knowledge about sci-fi and how you guys sound ridiculous.
You see, I tried to talk over him, but it didn't work.
The fact that you said, wasn't there like some movies where it's called the Terminator franchise? I was making a joke when I said we should turn AI over, turn our defense over, because that was the plot of
the Terminator series
with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
How many movies in that series?
I don't know. There was 4 or 5. It got ridiculous.
To add to Wesley's point, though, about making a deep fake of a politician, they're going to make something, and the 50% of people, for example, that are never Trump and Trump derangement syndrome, you could have Trump literally going out like he talked about in 2016 and shooting somebody on Fifth Avenue. They could fake that, and everybody, because they hate Trump so much, will believe it's real.
Well,
but
it won't hurt him with his voters.
No, that wouldn't.
But also, listen, there are a lot of low information voters in this country. And that's, to me, that's the scariest thing, is that they'll see something on X or they'll see something on social media. They'll believe it, and they'll never check to see if it's been disproven.
One of the things I mentioned on this
community notes.
One of the things I mentioned on the AI topic on Walker's program is the fact if you go back and look at all the Hollywood movies, the 8 or 10 that I could look up that have the AI as part of the movie or the plot, AI always ends up being the problem.
Yeah.
And humans have to fix it. In every case, produced out of Hollywood.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So, and we can talk about this. There are worries and concerns in Hollywood about AI taking over the creation of movies and television programs.
And with that, and no human actors.
Right.
It really, I've seen some astounding video, and my thought is, Hollywood's toast.
Can you imagine an 82-year-old Tom Cruise still gets $5 million when his AI image jumps out of a plane?
And Ed's also seen an Indian woman play hockey, too, before, right?
I did. Never thought I'd see that.
On the AI image.
That's right.
We'll see you tomorrow, everybody. Take care.